Okay, good morning everybody. We're winding down this week. A little bit on the defensive in the overnight trade. We've got the wheat prices down around 5 cents, corn 1 to 2, the bean market down 2 to 3. Meal market's unchanged while the oil market's down around 20 points. On a sidebar, just one that hasn't getting much mention, the Malaysian palm oil market has really been taking a beating this week. I think almost 3 days in a row. It's been making new lows for the move, and these are 3-year lows. So once again, that being on a sidebar. When we started the week, we kind of thought that this would be a little bit, traders thought that it'd be a little bit more of a volatile week in the sense that we had some important news items coming out. Number one, we've been having this ongoing trade war talk going between the U.S. and the Chinese. Does it get traction? Does it lose traction? So on and so forth. Still was somewhat status quo throughout the whole week, and so that really didn't garner much trade attention as far as being on the back burner and really being put forward now at the end of the month when the G20 meeting occurs down in South America, and the U.S. and the Chinese are supposedly going to get together, so we'll see what happens there. So that's still somewhat in the back of the trader's mind. Then we also had our midterm elections earlier in the week, what would happen with the stock market, the dollar, things of that nature. But that too really didn't get much traction as far as price movement goes for the grain and the oil seeds. And then yesterday we had the USDA report come on out, crop production and S&Ds. And there too we did get a little bit of price movement, but nothing of anything too dramatic. And then we wound up basically throughout the whole week, and where we have been over the past few months has been somewhat in a sideways trading range in here, not getting much in the way of up or downside movement as far as what the news has been going. And it's somewhat reflective as it stands right now. We're down roughly anywhere a dime in the wheat markets. We're down almost unchanged, down 1 in the corn. We're only down around 10 cents in beans, down in the neighborhood of around $3 in the meal, and down 40 points in the soybean oil. Crushing margins, which have been on the defensive so far, are unchanged for the week, 107 basis to March. So where do we go from here? We continue to find out that the USDA report yesterday, the yields came on down for the corn and the beans, but the carryouts pretty much stayed unchanged for the beans, with the exports coming on down. The exports also came down for corn, even though we've been doing pretty good. So once again, we're still quite adequate with supplies in the corn and in the beans on the U.S. front, and also as far as the wheat goes. Surprisingly, considering where we're at with our year-to-date exports for wheat, the USDA left the export number unchanged. Big surprise from the trade, although it's kind of misleading, was the large jump in the corn and the wheat world carryouts. That came on the heels of the Chinese production numbers going on up. The USDA instituted them. Back in October, they said that that being the USDA, would kind of put the Chinese on the side as far as S&Ds go, to not incorporate them into the world numbers because they're not much of an importer-exporter of corn and or wheat. But nonetheless, those numbers kind of took the trade by surprise, and perhaps the machines. But basically, we're still unchanged with our wheat and corn world carryouts from where we were a month ago. So it all defaults back on, once again, the externals, or what's going to happen going forward in here. Is our U.S. demand going to get better, considering what the USDA gave us on yesterday's report? And then the second thing, as far as the price driver will be, is what's going on with South America's production. Right now, they're pretty much status quo and or in a fairly good condition. So as you can see, the S&Ds in South America at this point in time, somewhat keeps us in a sideways range with somewhat of a negative bias, but perhaps also until we get more news on that and or the external front, that being the government, potentially we may just continue to be in somewhat of a sideways trade through the rest of the calendar year. On a sidebar also, Monday is Veterans Day. The grains and the oilseeds will be open, but the USDA will be closed. Thus, we won't get any exports or crop progress numbers on Monday. They'll be delayed until Tuesday, and all the other weekly releases will be put back one day next week because of the Veterans Day holiday. So have a good weekend. Once again, these are my opinions, not that of ADM or ADMIS. Thank you.